Welcome. This is Mukul Yudhvir Singh, and sitting with me is a special man, Lars Reger, who is Global CTO for NXP. Lars, welcome to Autocar Professional. Very nice time for being here in India. The AI Summit is going on. But we've not spoken a lot about AI in cars for today. Is it because something or the other has not been done on the chip level as of yet?
Well, there is a key reason for all of that, because there is a big difference between having tools like ChatGPT in the cloud. So I fire a question that gets loaded into a huge data center where you have a nuclear power plant running next to it to provide all the energy, and that answer comes back. And from there, this big jump into building a robot, a trusted machine, a rolling robot, in that case, a car. For the robot, it is much more important to be absolutely trustworthy, to be safe and secure. Because the moment where this machine is doing something that you don't want, it gets dangerous. Secondly, it is all about energy efficiency. And only then it is about intelligence. So we are shifting now, and this is what you're also seeing, your minister, Ashwini Vaishnaw, is very nicely pitched it in Davos. He says, we go now from these big models, big data center fixed installations, into physical AI robotics building, in my language. And for that you need much smaller models, but you need to be able to 150% trust them. And this is what companies like NXP are doing. A lot of the others have done this big data center stuff. And you see that shift in the industry. Now, you're coming to the rolling robot. And there, of course, it gets into the different architectures. How do you do intelligent systems in this rolling skateboard? How do you do intelligent systems in the driver replacement? So take Lars out of the seat and put a robot in. How do you do intelligent systems for all the other vehicle functions? And that is only starting now, not because we are only now coming to that idea, but it is so more difficult to make this trustworthy and bring safety and security into the game.
Interesting. I mean, referring cars to rolling, I think autonomous cars is what you're referring to as rolling robots.
This
right?
is what I mean. Yeah.
And you're bringing in the aspect of cybersecurity, but not a lot of OEMs, even tier ones, are talking about cybersecurity, especially here in India.
Because it's in a normal car, it's not a function that you are seeing. You only see cybersecurity when it's getting wrong, right? When your credit card is getting hacked, or when someone is posting on your behalf on social media and you don't want to have it, and so on. So this trust, both on functional safety, so your braking or your ABS systems never ever fail. And if they fail, they don't create a fatality, but they slow down the car and park it. And cybersecurity, your car never ever gets hacked. And if it gets hacked, it's shutting down the data transmission. It's recognizing it, but it's not leaking all data. These type of functions are hard to realize. You need to have decades of deep know-how, and that is what we are trying to lift over. And that is a comparatively unresearched area, how you're combining these worlds. So NXP has invented 25 years ago these contactless NFC banking cards that are in your wallet. We are taking this know-how on crypto security, make post-quantum crypto systems out of it, so systems that cannot be hacked even by quantum computers, and bring that into vehicles. We do the same. 60% of our NXP electronics is in automotive since decades. And we know how to build ABS and braking systems. So with these ASIL-D, functional safety systems, how do we map this, and how do we add the right size of the brain to it? But what I mean by that is, the misunderstanding in autonomous driving is like, I'm sitting there and at the 18th birthday, I'm handing my car keys to my son and say, Jonas, you are an intelligent system. You have seen now for 18 years how that is driving. Enjoy, go driving. This is not working. We are today sending the kids to a driving school. Say, okay, first you learn all the rules theoretically, then you learn to apply them practically on the road. This has nothing to do with creativity or AI. It's just rule-based, deterministic, comply to the rules. And only inside these corridors, the creativity is allowed to happen. Rules, I mean, In Germany, you are driving on the right side of the road. In front of a red traffic light, you are stopping. If there is a 50 sign, you don't drive 80. And by the way, in India, you are not driving on the right side of the road. Yeah, so rule-based. In between, I can accelerate, I can overtake, I can do all these type of things. That's my own creativity. But we are boxing in the brain. Boxing in the brain into a functional, safe and secure environment makes the robot. And it is not about having a super sophisticated paint me a picture or compose me a song type of question to ChatGPT. There is a huge difference.
Interesting. But then, if I park cybersecurity at the moment and ask you, what you are referring to is data. If in simple language, if I put it, in
data processing, data handling. Yeah, absolutely.
How do we generate? We generate a lot of, a lot of data in India. But how do we process and how would you have the access to it, especially to enable ADAS in India? Have you answered that question yet?
There is this nice saying, data is the new oil. It is not. Because oil, if you put it into your cellar, is not rotting. Oil is not outdating. Oil is not getting irrelevant. Your eyes are taking every day petabytes of data, raw data. Your brain gets only very, very little data, the delta pictures from your eyes, and only then processes data like, is the guy on the other side nodding or shaking his head? So a few bytes that are coming out of this raw data. So having all data of entire India doesn't get me anything.
Okay.
Having the right and the relevant data, that's science and that is art. Having the right data for training AI systems is super important, because if you have the wrong data, you can make the system react in the wrong way. I can very easily take all my European engineering CVs, dump it into an AI tool and say, generate me or hire for me the next best engineer. As I have the majority male, Caucasians in the early 30s, that tool very easily has a chance to get, let's say, gender specific and racist. I don't want that. I just want to have the best electronics engineer to be hired. But if I feed these tools with the wrong data, and that the same happens in traffic and so on, I'm just only paying attention to artifacts. And then it gets so dangerous because I don't know which artifacts the system has been on and is driving me off the road. I have to box it in. You stay on that lane, whatever you do. And then I need to work on getting the artifacts out of the picture. So having the right data, training in the right way, certifying models, and then bringing it back into these tools, which is a comparatively small task. So for example, this NXP solution from Hyderabad, it's an AI accelerator that's carrying 10 billion parameters, like a large language model for all sorts of unconnected systems, cars, computer tomographs, washing machines. Together with these microprocessors from our side, functional safe, you bring these together. 7 watts energy consumption, very small, on the right set of data, doing the magic, for example, for in-cabin management, chassis AI. It's not yet on the level of autonomous driving type of capabilities. There you need a little bit more horsepower. But for a lot of the other robot building tasks on your rolling robot, that is already sufficient. And it is about condensing the right data into the right AI models and processing then raw data again. So the answer, it's all about data. It's correct, but not enough.
Interesting. You just showed us one of the solutions, right? On the other hand, the industry is today talking about moving to a central architecture for ECUs.
Yes.
And this would add one more layer of an ECU or an SoC, if I say that, right? Wouldn't that complicate things?
So these architectures, these software-defined architectures, software-defined vehicles, software-defined robots, and so on, are nothing else but a cleanup of functions. So you are thinking normally in domains. You have a powertrain domain, you have a connectivity domain, you have a driver replacement or ADAS domain, you have an infotainment domain in your car. So functional blocks. These blocks are usually anchored in certain domain processors, and they are connected via big networking central compute devices. By the way, this is a central compute device that we have developed here in Noida, 13 billion transistors, 5 nanometer technology. So this is one of these high functional, safe automotive networking devices. It's the spine or the cerebellum of the car. Now, these devices are sitting central with a lot of horsepower. And of course, they need sensing at the corners of the car, and they need processing for these various domain architectures. Some of the domain architectures can maybe even be taken over by such a device, but by and large, you have this hub and spoke type of architecture. That's a huge simplification compared to having 150 control units in a luxury car from 5 years ago. Due to that cleanup, you can go to a couple of big ECUs on simpler software environments, and with the right operating system, middleware on top, you can also easily add functions or move a function from the central device with a middleware to a zonal device in the periphery on the same middleware. It's like your tablet and my desktop are running the same operating system, and we have the same tools, programs running on top. So we can shift that backward and forward. That architecture cleanup is absolutely needed. And then, of course, the key point is, can you bring these companions, and for example, can I slot them via the PCI Express? Can I slot them into these central units, just like coprocessors, just like add-ons? So you don't need to have a different control unit, but how can I enrich the existing software-defined architecture by large language model capability in the system, not in the cloud? And that gives you, of course, huge advantages in data security, because nothing has to leave the car. You can compute here and not sending every data to the cloud. And you have a very fast turnaround time, and you have very safe and reliable processing of your data as well.
Interesting. 13 billion parameters, you said. Right?
So this is 10 billion parameters, 13 billion transistors.
Oh, okay. But when it comes to processing via these, wouldn't and you said all the calculations would happen on edge, not in the cloud?
So a lot of them. Of course, you will need the cloud as well. I can explain to you why you need the cloud in future. But a lot of these calculations are better at the edge.
Okay. But then if we do it at edge, wouldn't the car's requirement and the requirement for doing these calculations in terms of energy also increase?
So the combination of those two, 10 billion parameters large language model, ASIL-D microprocessor in the car, 7 watts. That is less energy than sending a question to ChatGPT over the air into the data center, processing it there, and then getting it back. And that is by factors less energy. So these tools, just to find out how many bottles of milk are missing in my fridge, how my powertrain is doing, how I need to adjust the temperature in my house. So for all these tasks where you want to have little robots helping you, you need once a day, a minute at 7 watts. And you don't have to do this big data transfer to the cloud. For all your actuators in the car, you can easily afford these 7 watt type of solutions, and you power them on when you really need them. What you cannot afford is having from each house and from each of the 50 billion devices that might be out there in 10 years, an online data connection to a data center in the cloud. Just the data pumping costs so much energy that Mother Earth cannot afford it.
Interesting. Lars, among all these calculations, among all these lines of code, the threat of cybersecurity also increases.
Yes.
Though you've said it in the beginning that you don't address anything which has not come up yet. But should the OEMs and the tier ones, especially the tier ones also, because they're now building a lot of electronics in India for cars. Even the EMS companies have started, building a lot of electronics. Yep. Should they already start investing in cybersecurity measures? If yes, would this need to be done on the chip level, or would they need to have a layer of code or software on their own?
So there is no chance to build a connected device. So connected means hooked up to the internet or whatsoever, without cybersecurity. If you have an unconnected car from 30 years ago, no connection to the outside world, fine, you also cannot get viruses in if you don't plug an OBD connector to the CAN bus. But if you have a connected device, whatever you talk about, you have to have cybersecurity because there is hacking protection. Good news is we have hacking protection, cybersecurity in all of these devices already. We have the same passport chips like we have in the global biometric passports, like in banking cards, all of these type of little crypto machines in hardware. Now, your question, do we need hardware or software security? What is hardware security? Hardware security is you take a little microcontroller and you make such a spaghetti out of the layout of that microcontroller that you cannot identify anymore which transistor has which job. And on top, of course, software is running. And you have a couple of sensors and detectors. If you would take the software off and take other software on, this machine recognizes it and would not start anymore. That's the entire thing. So hardware and software combinations are combined. There is no hardware crypto without the software, and software crypto without any anchoring hardware is vulnerable. And that's a great business also for guys like us, because if you have these secure anchors and the secure operating systems, that is the stuff that we are also selling to the Indian government for eGov, but globally these solutions, you have to have them also in your car, and every connected device has to have a passport. Like Lars is running to the Air India gate and says, here's my passport, I'm allowed to fly here, I can authenticate myself, this is Lars. My car will also tell the next traffic light, I'm a passenger car, or, hey, hang on, I'm an ambulance and here's my passport. Switch on green, block all the side traffic, I have to go faster. But I'm only allowed to go faster if I can show my passport. And I say passport because we are literally using the same chip. So every car, every microprocessor, every microcontroller wants to have this security to making sure that you are not cheated on, that you are not hacked, and that you cannot be manipulated. Because how dangerous would it be if someone could manipulate the cars on Indian roads?
Interesting. One last question. Cars in India, right, or cars globally are becoming a reflection of one's smartphone. And on the smartphone are all your banking apps, all your financial details, and people have already started accessing them on their cardboard dash screens. Where does cybersecurity come into picture here? How does it?
So I'm always careful with that comparison of the car is a smartphone on wheels. It is not. The smartphone is becoming a car without wheels. And I'm telling you what I mean. You want to have a trusted device. The more of the banking functions, authentication functions you are dumping into your smartphone, my smartphone can open my car and these type of functions, the more your smartphone can do damage to you commercially or reputation-wise, or not that much physically that it really damages you. But like any other robot in the physical world, your car needs to be functional, safe, should not be manipulated from the outside world, and should be 150% reliable. And I'm always thinking in damaging classes. So first is physically, you don't want to overrun a person. Secondly, you don't want to damage your wallet, so bank account hacking. And also you don't want to damage your reputation, so sending funny pictures out of your bedroom into social media. So these are the damage classes. That is trust your device. And the automotive sector, the aerospace sector, all of these sectors have these ultra high requirements on trust your device. And we have to hand it over to every robot in the world. Because if your fridge starts ordering 500 liters of milk, you go shopping yourself again. Yeah? I say, what a device. If your smart thermostat puts your flat onto 50 degrees centigrade and your aquarium is boiling and your cat is dead when you come home, you go manually do the climate control adjustment again. And the same if your car starts funny, moves, erratic driving. So this trust your device, we have copied from automotive. We, NXP, have copied from automotive. Say, okay, we lift it over into all other sorts of robots. And this robot is a communication robot, call it smartphone, fine. This robot is an insulin pump that is giving you insulin. Yeah, Yeah, of course you want to trust this device. I mean, if my insulin pump gives me by accident twice the dose of insulin that I should have gotten, I mean, that's a huge problem. That is as nasty as if my braking system does not work in a car. So in that combination, turn it around. And yes, your smartphone has to have highest level of crypto security because it's a very, very connected device. So what we are doing is we are adding even post-quantum crypto security, and my team has developed, co-written the standard for the post-quantum crypto in the US, so which becomes the global PQC standard, and we have products already that run this PQC standard. By the way, PQC means a brute force computer, a quantum computer, could not hack it. So not by changing all numbers, you are just suddenly getting to the password. So this brute force hacking is not possible by the silicon and by the software that we have in here. And now, guess what? Of course, the people who have a long longevity on their products, they want to have today already PQC in, because who knows whether we have quantum computers in 5 years that can do the brute force hacking. So if you build an industrial robot, you want to have quantum compute, post-quantum crypto in. If you have a car that you are replacing only every decade. If you have a mobile phone that lives for 5 to 7 years. And suddenly these highest standards for crypto security are super, super important. But it's all starting from this trust your device, trust your rolling robot type of story.
Interesting. To conclude, Lars, should the Indian OEMs talk more about cybersecurity now? Your concluding remarks on this.
You cannot talk enough about cybersecurity. And what I am seeing is we are sitting very closely with the Indian OEMs, two-wheeler makers, by the way, as well. So this is not only car makers. We are talking to almost all of our customers, and we are used also as a trusted advisor there. I see the absolute need for all customers to deal with that, because I mean, you cannot sell a product that is not cyber secure. So I would not see how anyone can build a car or a vehicle without functional safety and cybersecurity. I mean, you have seen in a couple of incidents over the last years, if cars or two-wheelers are burning down, the trust is gone. This is a huge issue for the companies. Same for hacking the vehicles. This is base level topics that we are providing as a value proposition and as a partner to the tier ones and to the OEMs. That is a big chunk of our value proposition in that game.
Perfect. Thank you, Lars. This is Mukul Yudhvir Singh, and the message from Lars is loud and clear. OEMs as well as tier ones should talk about cybersecurity a lot more. Signing off for Autocar Professional.